So today let's chat about business goals. This might not be what you're expecting with this title, but essentially you've got to have goals to have a conversation about reporting and data. Regardless, I'm sure that goal has something to do with making money. But how exactly are you going to do that? Is it part of your efforts to improve the customer experience perhaps? Increase efficiency? By the end of this video, I'm going to help you understand why taking that goal strategy session for the year is important to incorporate into a reporting and data strategy for the year as well. So go grab a cup of coffee and let's chat about how we can drive results using your data. So if you've seen the other data mistakes videos that I've been producing, you've probably heard this more than once. Your goal is to measure the elements that actually tie to business objectives. And what I see more often than not when I have this conversation is originally that some business leader goes back, takes a few things, and changes a couple of things. And this is going to touch on the data mistake number 3, where we definitely don't want overloaded reports. So if you've kept everything around, that's a whole nother conversation for another video, it seems. But by actually going through this video and thinking through the business objectives and what you can measure in order to accomplish your goals, it's going to make it a lot clearer for you. The whole point is to keep you on target to drive more revenue, no matter what part you play in your organization. So why is this a problem? I want you to think about it, right? So you fresh and dewy, it's January, and then March comes. And I'm not talking 2020 March, that's a whole nother ballgame, right? But the idea is that you have these day-to-day fires and it's easy to lose track of exactly what matters to the business. You've got to put out the fires, right? But having a strategic look at your information when you're setting those goals will kind of automate, right? So like if these reports being placed in front of you or the reports that you're looking at are the ones that you said in January mattered. It's not to say that things don't change, and that's not what I'm suggesting. I am suggesting that these automated systems that you put in place keep you focused even when the day-to-day fires become more important. Even when the day-to-day fires start taking precedence. You haven't lost sight as long as you've kind of kept to that strategy, and if you did decide to deviate, it's a conscious choice. Number 1, I want you to think about what you already have in play that can help you do this, right? So no matter where you're at in the space, if you're collecting some sort of data, whether that be a spreadsheet or some full-on data warehouse, what do you have that could touch that data? What could touch that objective that you're trying to improve? So some thoughts on this would be like quality metrics or any kind of churn analysis. Maybe that's lead time, call hold times. You get the idea. It's what do you have and how can you tie that to a business objective, right? So sometimes half the battle is working with the tools and the data that you have, right? Step 1. And now that you've actually brainstormed some of the elements that are at your disposal, it's kind of like a peek through a window. And so the next step would be to look a little more in depth and say, okay, let's actually lay this stuff out, produce the metrics. Is that a good line of sight to what you're trying to accomplish? I'm not saying it has to be completely comprehensive, and I guess the windows curtains are fully open. Just does it give you enough information to go on at that point? And then that step 3 is where we're going to layer in additional analysis. Like if you don't have a churn analysis and it applies to your business, this would be the part where you actually do it. So it's looking at what you don't have that perhaps you have enough information to try with. Use the variables that you do have and see what you find, right? And so it doesn't even have to be as complicated as something like a churn analysis where you're breaking out some more advanced analytic skills. It can just be looking at averages across, like a handle time conversation. Do you see outliers? Are there things that when you dig into those outliers, it's some training opportunity with staff or any of that? It's really digging into what's happening in the business with that information that you've collected. And in this step, I think it'll identify really some of the gaps that you have so that you can kind of start thinking and incorporating into your strategy how to get more data points that'll help support what you're trying to accomplish. If you've got glaring gaps at this point, it should be pretty glaring. So in step 3, you were able to identify some KPIs, key performance indicators, that tell you how your business is doing. Maybe it's just an acceptable range for items. So you've identified outliers. And so basically in step 4, I want you to start pinpointing what those triggers were and what you can look at down the road. So like if this is the handle time and an outlier happens again, there's like a clear picture, like this number is not acceptable, and it pulls you out of that day-to-day fire idea so that you've got hopefully a visual indicator that says, I need to go make a touch point. I don't want things to get out of hand. So you're busy, but you built in strategies to help you deal when you're busy. You're building in those ranges, KPIs, and all that. Really, number 5 would be to automate. Do we need to make changes? Any of those big structural gaps that you've identified, it's about revisiting that. And while I've outlined these things as individual steps, it's really reiterations. So you might find a new gap and go back and then have got too much or just enough or whatever. The idea is that you keep revisiting, and it's not some like linear idea that's going to happen for you. It's part of your strategy session. It's just a way to kind of make sure that you've really thought through the pieces that are available to you, what you're missing, and what you can do with what you have. And if you're one of those that hadn't heard of Measure What Matters, there is a great book with that title by Doerr, I think his name is. I'll link it in the description below in case you haven't heard of it. Definitely a good read that touches on some of this as well. This video is part of a data mistake series, and I really hope that you will check out this video because I want to help you make even less mistakes. And of course, give it a subscribe if you'd like to have a chat over coffee and data.